Welcome, everyone. Okay, let's jump right into this. Today, we are embarking on a really sweeping cinematic explainer of Paulo Coelho's legendary tale, The Alchemist. But listen, we aren't just going to sit here and recount a plot summary. We're going to experience this incredible, grueling physical journey across the desert exactly as it was intended to be experienced, as a profound metaphor for finding your own life's purpose. We are going to break down exactly how dreams, destiny, and just unwavering faith can guide us through the absolute biggest obstacles in life. The core thesis of this entire journey actually comes straight from the author's foreword. It's this idea that when you truly want something, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it. It's a powerful, almost mystical concept about fully committing to your deepest desires. And Coelho actually lived this metaphor himself. He faced massive early failure when this book was first published, but he kept going because his heart and soul were totally in it. And honestly, that is exactly where our story begins.
Every great cinematic journey starts with an awakening. Part 1. The Call to Destiny. Awakening the Dream.
So we meet Santiago. He's a humble shepherd boy who makes this radical, completely life-altering choice to travel rather than become a priest like his family wanted. And there's this beautifully poignant moment where his father finally accepts his decision, handing him a pouch with 3 ancient Spanish gold coins found out in the fields. Now, this isn't just money. It symbolizes the foundational tools and that crucial parental blessing we are given when we dare to step out and start our own journey. His father is basically bearing his own unfulfilled desire to see the world, giving his son the courage to do what he couldn't.
Now, the crucial concept we've got to wrap our heads around early on is this idea of the personal legend. As Melchizedek, this mysterious old king, reveals to Santiago, your personal legend is your ultimate calling. It's that one thing you have always, deep down, wanted to accomplish. It's your literal mission on Earth, originating in the soul of the universe itself. And according to the text, realizing this is a person's only real obligation in life.
But before we move on to Santiago's first big test, I want you to stop and ask yourself something. What is your flock of sheep? See, Santiago genuinely loved his sheep. He knew every single one of them by name. But they represented his comfort zone. So what comfortable, familiar things in your own life are acting like Santiago's sheep? What's keeping you tethered and preventing you from crossing your own desert?
Which brings us to part 2, the threshold, fear versus action.
Because let's be real, crossing the threshold into the unknown is absolutely terrifying. Almost as soon as Santiago enters Tangier, Africa, he gets robbed of everything. Destitute, he experiences this intense moment of hesitation at the ticket window. He almost lets fear win. He seriously considers giving up his big magical dream to just return to the safety of his sheep. He's got just enough money to buy a ticket back to Spain. Because, well, he knows exactly how to herd sheep, but he knows absolutely nothing about this terrifying new world.
Ultimately, he doesn't buy that ticket back. Instead, he takes a job with the local crystal merchant, which sets up this fascinating contrast. Let's compare these two mindsets. The crystal merchant dreams every single day of traveling to Mecca. But he is paralyzed by the fear that if he actually realizes his dream, he'll literally have no reason left to live. He prefers the safety of the fantasy. Santiago, on the other hand, decides the risk of living is totally worth the reward. He takes his earnings and chooses to actualize his dream, marching deeper into the desert.
Part 3. Reading the Omens, the Language of the World. As Santiago joins this massive, sprawling caravan across the Sahara, he starts learning to observe the world differently. He learns to read the omens. On this caravan, he meets the Englishman, who represents a completely different approach to life's mysteries. The Englishman surrounds himself with heavy books, trying to unlock the universe's secrets, specifically the secrets of alchemy, purely through complex texts, heavy intellect, and coded instructions. He's literally missing the majestic desert around him because his nose is constantly buried in a book.
But the ultimate truth Santiago discovers, and honestly, the lesson the story is just screaming at us, is beautifully simple. The text spells it out. There is only one way to learn. It's through action. True mastery, true alchemy, isn't found in deciphering obscure texts or overthinking things. It's achieved through living, paying deep attention to the world around you, and actually taking action in the real world.
And all of this builds perfectly to the introduction of the alchemist himself. When Santiago correctly reads an omen of war and saves an oasis, he's suddenly confronted by this majestic, highly intimidating figure on a white horse with a falcon on his shoulder. This mysterious horseman arrives with a thundering wind, testing Santiago's courage at literal sword point. This is the exact guide Santiago needs to complete his transformation.
Part 4.
Love and the personal legend. A profound connection.
So, midway through his journey at the desert oasis, Santiago finds true love with a woman named Fatima. And man, he is incredibly tempted to just abandon his quest. I mean, he's got gold, he's got safety, and he's got love. Why risk death in the brutal desert when you could just stay there with her? But the alchemist steps in and imparts this profound lesson. Genuine love is a core part of the soul of the world. If it is pure, it will never spoil and it will never, ever impede your personal legend. In fact, it empowers it. Fatima herself tells Santiago to go because she understands that a true partner supports your destiny rather than holding you back from it.
Which brings us to Part 5, The Ordeal, Turning into the Wind.
Now we reach the climax. It is intense. Captured by a violent desert tribe, the alchemist makes a wild, unbelievable promise to save their lives. He claims Santiago can perform a miracle. Santiago is given a seemingly impossible task with his literal life on the line. He has to transform himself into the wind in 3 days. I mean, he's a shepherd, not a wizard. How on earth do you even begin to turn yourself into the wind?
The tension here in the text is just off the charts. When the moment comes, Santiago doesn't use magic spells or secret potions. Instead, he speaks the language of the world. He communicates directly with the desert sands, then he negotiates with the wind, and finally, he speaks with the sun itself. He proves his deep, undeniable connection to the soul of the world, demonstrating that all things are truly one, and he orchestrates a massive, blinding sandstorm.
And this brings us to one of the most powerful, hard-hitting takeaways of this entire journey. During that terrifying ordeal, the alchemist tells him, there is only one thing that makes a dream impossible to achieve: the fear of failure. Think about that. Our true enemy isn't a lack of ability, it's not external circumstances, or even a warring tribe in the desert. It is the paralyzing internal fear that we might fail.
Part 6, The Return, Your Inner Treasure.
Having miraculously survived the ordeal, Santiago finally approaches the majestic pyramids of Egypt. The physical struggle gives way to this incredibly intense internal dialogue with his own heart, and it offers such deep, resonant comfort. His heart is agitated, it's fearful of suffering and loss right as he gets close to his goal, but Santiago is taught to tell his heart that the fear of suffering is actually way worse than the suffering itself. Making peace with our own anxious, fearful minds is the final, absolutely necessary step before we can claim our ultimate treasure.
Through this dialogue, Santiago learns a few essential truths. First, he realizes that an agitated heart isn't a bad thing. It's actually a sign that his heart is alive. His heart comes from the soul of the world. It's there to warn him of hidden dangers, though it will definitely speak softly if ignored for too long. But ultimately, he learns that wherever his heart is, that is exactly where his treasure will be found.
So, after all of this, Santiago finally reaches the pyramids. He drops to his knees, starts digging, only to be beaten and robbed one last time. But here is the absolute kicker, the beautiful twist ending. One of the thieves scoffs at him and reveals a dream of his own, a dream of a treasure buried under an abandoned church's sycamore tree way back in Spain. Santiago realizes, in a flash, that his physical gold was actually buried back home, in the exact spot where he started his journey all along.
He literally had to travel the entire world just to understand the value of what was sitting in his own backyard. It brings the emotional arc to a stunning close. Remember what his heart told him? Be aware of the place where you are brought to tears. That's where your treasure is. The physical gold? That was just a byproduct. The true alchemy was the massive transformation of his own soul, evolving from a timid shepherd into a man who intimately understands the language of the world.
So I'm going to leave you with this final, provocative thought to carry with you today. We've just walked through Santiago's cinematic journey, witnessed his ultimate tests of faith, and seen his realization that his purpose was waiting for him to simply take action. If the whole universe really is waiting and conspiring to assist you, what is the personal legend you are finally ready to pursue? What treasure is waiting for you to just begin your journey? Thank you so much for exploring this explainer with me today. Get out there and start digging.